Today's video is for the first time buyers, and what we are going to cover is shared ownership, the pros and cons of shared ownership. And we are going to cover some real details about why it is really good, and at the same time how things can go wrong when it comes to shared ownership. So stay tuned. So, firstly, let me explain what is shared ownership. As the terminology says, shared ownership. So, what you're doing is you are sharing the ownership of that particular property. Now, with whom you are sharing? You're sharing with the housing association. So, the housing association owns the entire flat or entire building, and then what you do is you buy a certain share of that particular flat. Now, normally it starts with 25% share. So you start with 25% share and then you staircase it to 100% or outright. Okay. So that's how the shared ownership works. Now, what we need to understand is mostly the shared ownership is with new build properties. But already, if someone is having a shared ownership and that person wants to sell it, then you can buy a shared ownership property from an existing owner of that property. So it is available for new build as well as an existing property which is already a shared ownership property. That's where it works. Now, the reason of shared ownership is so popular nowadays with the first time buyers. The reason is now the property prices have gone up, but the income in ratio, in proportionate with the property, has not gone up. So buying 100% share or outright is not possible for everyone. So this is the best way to get into the property ladder by buying a percentage of the or share of the entire property. So what are the important things we need to know when we are considering of a shared ownership? So I'm going to cover 10 things which we need to be really careful when it comes to shared ownership. The first one is how much percentage you can buy. Some housing association will start with 25%, but some may start with 35, some may start with 40%. So you need to have a clear understanding what percentage of the entire property you are buying. And once you know that, then the second question comes in: how much rent you have to pay for the rest of the portion. So let's say you own 35% or you own 25%. So the rest 75% or 65%, how much rent you have to pay to the housing association? This is a question you should definitely ask. The second thing you need to know is what is the service charge you have to pay. Now, all this shared ownership is mostly flats. There are houses as well, but mostly they are flats. Now, what happens is there is a kind of a monthly service fees which you have to contribute towards the maintenance of the entire property and so and so. So it is very important that you understand those kind of charges. Or is there any other hidden charges like additional charge for a security guard or any other services which this building needs or the flat particularly needs? So you need to have a very clear understanding. The reason is when it comes to your mortgage application and so many other kind of paperwork, this hidden charges and things, you need to have a very good clarity. And for long term also, you need to understand, does it fits that into your budget or not? Okay, so it's very important that you find out any hidden charges and service charges applicable to that particular property. Now, the third point is, can you staircase? Now, the term staircase is very simple. So, whenever you are buying the property, you are buying a percentage of shared. Then, in future, you are able to staircase that into further additional share of the property. So, in some housing associations, they allow you to staircase twice in the lifetime of that property or your stay in that property. So for example, you are earning 40%, you can do another 40%, so that makes 80, and then you do a 20%. Or if you are owning 35%, you do another 35%, that makes it 70, and then you do a 30%. So you need to clearly understand, is the staircasing first of all allowed or applicable, and then second, how much staircasing you can do, what percentage you can do, minimum and maximum. Now, you need to be careful. There are certain housing association, they will not allow you to do staircasing. So it is very important that you ask this specific question: is staircasing allowed in this particular property? So the fourth point is, when you're thinking about shared ownership, you need to understand that shared ownership is not available in all the locations. There are some cities, there are plenty of shared ownership, but there are some cities there are not at all. There is no shared ownership at all. Now, majority of the big developers or nationwide developers are definitely having preferences for shared ownership, and they like, if they are constructing a certain number of houses, they definitely allocate a certain percentage for shared ownership. So there are plenty of projects available across the major cities, but still it is very location restricted. So not every city in the UK you will find shared ownership, and if you find also, it is not necessary that the location you are looking for, you will find that particular location with shared ownership options. So when it comes to shared ownership, you are kind of restricted to the location and what kind of property you can buy. Majority of the shared ownership is are flats. There are some shared ownership wherein you can buy a house, like an independent house, but they are very few in very few places. So think about that. If you are very location specific, then you have to be you might have to make some compromises when it comes to shared ownership. So the fifth point is, when you are finalizing your shared ownership property, these are the two documents you need to collect when you are finalizing this property, or you are giving your initial deposit, or you're putting your name for that particular property. The first one is memorandum of sale, MOS, memorandum of sale. Now, this is the document which you will require when you go for a mortgage or you do anything else. This is one document which is so important, and without this document given by the housing association, you cannot confirm that property is assigned to you, or you will be able to buy that property. So MOS, memorandum of sale. The second is a terms and condition which explains how much rent, what percentage you are going to buy, what is the value of the property, for your percentage of share, what's the value, how much mortgage you might require, what kind of deposit. So they have a kind of terms and conditions given by the housing association. They have their own rules. Within that rules, what are the terms and conditions? So you need to collect that document when you, before you go for your mortgage appointment. So those are the documents you need to collect when you book that particular property. If you know someone who is a first time buyer and who's still kind of making that preparation of buying their house, and because they don't have enough savings, or they are not eligible for a bigger mortgage, and they are like limiting themselves not to move into the housing ladder, then this video is for them. So make sure that you share this video, and if you like this content, click on the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. So do share with your friends and families who are taking those first steps into their property ladder. So now the sixth point. So finally, you have identified a property, you have visited, booked the property, and you got all the documents. Now you're looking for a lender. Now what you need to understand is, for mortgages, majority of the high street lenders, all the big brands, big banks are giving you mortgage for shared ownership. But it is a good idea to ask the question to that housing association: is there any specific lender they are already working with? So if there is a specific lender, then that lender is already aware of this project. They are already familiar with, like they might have already done many applications. They have gone through this particular flats and the technicality of those properties. So it will be very easy for you to get through your mortgage application. So if there is already a lender who's already working with the housing association and that particular project, go ahead with them. That will be very easy and straightforward. Or majority of the high street banks, the big brands, all those banks are providing mortgages for shared ownership. You will find it easily. The seventh point. Now, a lot of people ask me, Jito, is it in long term? Does this work out? Is it an advantage of having going for a shared ownership? Now, there are few things which I want to mention here. One is, if you are very sure that you have just started your career and in the next few years there will be an incremental in your income, or you have just started your business, it's been just a year or two, and you know that the business is flourishing and there will be an incremental income, then this is one of the best way to secure and get into the property ladder. because you know, as your income increases, let it be employed or self-employed or doing your business, as your income increases in the years to come, you can staircase and outright the entire property. So this is one of the best way to do it. Now, if you have kind of like a growing family, and challenges like that, or and you have to move into a bigger house, what happens with the shared ownership? Yes, it still works out to be favorable, because when you sell that property, whatever shared you have purchased over a period of year, like few years, that price have gone up. So when you sell your part of the share as well, you get a you get a money back. So that money can be used for your next house, a bigger house, and you can put that as a deposit. Now, the eighth point. Now you have finalized everything. You have sit down with the lender. The mortgage application is going on, and at that stage, what you need to understand is whatever share you are purchasing. So let's say you are purchasing 40% share of the entire property. So you are actually doing mortgage only for that 40%. You are paying. You can give a deposit of 5%, 10%, 20% of that 40% of that property. So if you are a first time buyer and you have a little bit of saving, then that you can put at least minimum 5% deposit towards that 40% share, and then rest of the 95% of that particular share you will get mortgage. And that's a win-win situation for the housing association, for you as a person who is getting into the housing ladder, the developer. Everyone is a win-win situation. So with a very minimum deposit also, you can start your property journey. Your first home is very near with the shared ownership option. And if you are first time on this particular YouTube channel, Project Possible, then we do videos Monday to Friday, every day evening 7 p.m. So make sure you subscribe and also click on the bell button so you get all the notification of our daily videos and enjoy watching. The ninth point. Now, this is something which I want to kind of alert based on one of my friend's experience. Now, my friend, he took a shared ownership and he brought a flat. Now, in that particular building, there was only one lift, and he brought something sixth or seventh floor. Now, what happened is, if that one lift breaks down for maintenance or for any reason, then you have to depend on the staircase to come from your sixth, seventh, eighth floor to the ground floor. And that can be really challenging if that lift is out of work for a few weeks or few months. Just imagine. And I have come across people who have gone for shared ownership. Those properties had only one lift, and then when things went wrong, it was really a like painful experience for the entire family. So if you're going for shared ownership, make sure that you have two lifts. Not only just shared ownership, you go for any apartment or any flat system, make sure that there are two lifts with supports, so at least one is out of service or not working, you got another one, so your family can easily kind of use the lift instead of fully relying on the staircase. The 10th point, the final and the most important point. The housing association owns the entire building or the entire apartment. The housing association and owns the entire society if it is shared ownership. So with the housing association, they have their set rules. Now, some rules are quite flexible and favorable, but some rules are very strict. So you need to understand what are their rules when it comes to a housing association. And kind of you can only buy, sell, or do certain things within that rule of the housing association. So you are 100% outright also at some point of that property, but you are still ruled by the housing association. If you are selling, you need to inform them. If you are buying, you need to inform them. If you are staircasing, you need to inform them. You are making any changes within your like externally, you need to inform them. Or anything happens within the building also, the housing association always intervenes. So one way it is good that there is a housing association who's actively involved with your apartment and your flat, but at the same time those rules can be difficult at times. So really understand what are the terms and conditions, what are the rules by the housing association when you are buying a shared ownership. So I'm going to share some links in the description which gives you more detailed information about shared ownership. Those links are as a support material provided by the government to encourage shared ownership. So I'll share that link. Click on that link and have better understanding of shared ownership before you go and explore. Now, if you are watching this for the first time, you need to. I just want to mention here is at Project Possible we also do monthly live event where property experts they come, they share their knowledge, experience, their journey, and you have an opportunity to ask live questions with the expert, and they'll answer your questions. So make sure you grab all the details in the description for our monthly live event. So until next video, stay safe, stay blessed. See you soon.